Oh, dang. Yeah, I like this. I'm gonna move this though. So you don't think of it, that's like an 80, 90-year-old hand plane that I restored
so
a million years ago from when I used to do furniture.
That is so fun.
Because people see them and they're like, where did you get that?
Right?
You're like, yeah, I know. See, most people hang them up on the wall. I use them.
Love it.
So, okay, so you do not have to wear this, but I just thought for a minute you might want to throw this on just so you can hear yourself.
Okay.
And so what we'd like you to do is to kind of talk to each of us for just a second so that you hear yourself.
Okay.
Okay? You can turn your volume up and down right here. Other than that, you should, and then you don't have to wear these the rest of the time if you don't want to.
Okay.
And then I'm going to just do a test after you while you're kind of talking casually. I actually made it big. I wasn't sure how it would do on your hair. I'm trying to be cautious.
Oh, no,
I don't
you're
have
good.
that kind of problem, so I don't really know. I mean, every once in a while my chest hair gets ruffled, but you know. So talk, can you hear yourself?
Yeah.
So you're recording pretty much right here.
Okay.
And I've got your gain turned up, but as you kind of maybe like tell Joe about your day and then look over.
How's your day going so far?
Pretty good. How's your day going?
Oh, absolutely fantastic. Did you hear the cutout?
No, I can't hear it cut out super bad.
Okay.
I have this one
That's
turned up
even
a
better.
little higher so that we're not losing them anymore. But
Yeah,
okay,
that's
so
the
let's
dream.
just how was your drive here this morning, Makenzie?
It was great. Lots of traffic, lots of road work.
Did you still have? Didn't you used to have 2 cars? Do you still have your little Mazda?
No, I got rid of my
Okay,
Mazda
so
and
you
I
just
just
have
have
your
my
truck.
Tacoma.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, now let's hear what that sounds like, shall we? Where is it on this one? Does it go to videos? So
Yes.
This one is like totally different than mine.
Yeah. It only has the single hard drive.
Can you hear yourself? Sound okay?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds clear?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I've got good audio and I got good video.
The line is ready.
Okay, so this one's done.
I
Let's
think
see
the
if
light
mine's
is going.
good here. I think mine's good.
My exposure decided to cry on me.
Yeah, I do not like mine at all.
There we go. Boom, boom.
This is all the stuff I've had to learn.
This is so awesome.
Zoom in. Alright. Got it.
Sweet. Do you want, I don't care, I can totally wear these. Do you want me to wear the headphones?
No.
No, you can take them
Okay.
off.
Most people don't. I'm the only one that does because I realize that if I don't, that I have never heard.
They drive me crazy.
Yeah, I don't like. I fidget. Like if you listen to the early, it's kind of a joke around here. So like if you listen to the podcast that we just released, you can literally hear me squeaking my chair. So do you see these chairs?
Yes.
Like I literally rattled one apart. Just trying to sit here, trying to sit still. It's we still have it. Like I can grab it and you'd be like, what did you do to that chair?
That's
I
so
tried to
fun.
sit still. So now I just try not to move and touch the chair.
Yeah. Well, will you guys be able to hear me if I start to make too much noise?
No, you're good.
Okay.
No, you're totally fine. Yeah, you're fine.
It was early on.
Yeah,
Really
so those
early on.
we're on it. This is episode like 36. So like, and we only released episode 6.
Oh.
So like, and that's funny because everybody's like, "Oh, I can help
Hi.
you fix your audio," and we're like, "Yeah, we got it fixed. Like it's fine now."
We're good. We're good.
In fact, we're jumping, I think, to episode 10 because they're all perfect from there on out. So I
Okay.
think we're just going to jump to 10 and kind of maybe then we'll dig around with 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
So tell me how the live works with it all. So we're live.
Yep. So right now we're live. We're streaming on. Is it just YouTube and TikTok or just YouTube right now?
YouTube at the moment.
Okay, so we're just streaming onto YouTube, and it's honestly it's the 3. Oh, hey Joe, I was gonna say because the quality is really low. Can we turn the caliber of the quality of video that we're taking and get an actual better quality online?
Yeah, upgrade to the regular. For some reason, it took because we signed up for a year, right, of Riverside Premium.
Yeah.
We don't have it right now.
Oh.
Yeah. That's the only reason it's not running 4K.
Okay. That's really weird. So we need to look into that. Okay, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of running. It's more of just we're still trying to figure out what the heck that even means.
Right.
To be completely honest.
Right.
Like we just stream because again, you know, it's kind of getting it out there. So it's
For
just
sure.
one more thing. We get 18 people that'll hang out and watch it and listen to it. So the audio, the 360 does a really good job on audio, but it sounds like the Riverside, which is a cool streaming app, is we're having an issue with that, so we'll get that figured out today.
Yeah.
A lot of this is just trial and error. Like I'm sure everybody told you when you're like, oh, I'm gonna start a podcast. So like, just start.
Yeah.
Like your first bunch are gonna be kind of messed up, and you're gonna have all sorts of issues. You're gonna hate them, but it's cool because it gives you somewhere to go.
For sure.
Like if you watch what we're doing now, as opposed to those first ones, like I mean, you get the different.
So
there's
much
plywood
different.
covering that window.
Right.
Yeah.
And I realize I still have a bed sheet on this side, but I promise you, and here soon it's gonna get fixed.
No, that's awesome.
I'm a busy guy. I promise you, it is not a matter of me sitting around.
That's awesome. It is
I mean, if you, that's what some of those things, like sometimes I give myself a hard time, or other people do. They're like, man, how come you haven't gotten that done yet? And like, you're looking at one of like my 57 projects. You're not counting the 32 that I have completed.
Right.
So you just take the one that I can't seem to get traction on,
Right.
which is usually my cars, my hot rods, because it's nothing. It's literally in my opinion, it's like, it's time away from the family. It's money out of the budget. It's
The lowest priority.
the lowest priority is hot rods. Yeah. And that's part of this whole thing is that we want to change that. But no, so this is just streaming live. It's just, we don't even really advertise it yet. I
Okay.
mean, I haven't yet. Until we get it completely dialed in, then we'll start making a big deal about it and promoting it. We really just call this the Tommy Cam. Every time Tommy wants to come in and out, we can clip in and show Tommy, and they'll come in and say hi to everybody. And then they'll pretty much just sleep next to you the whole time.
Sweet.
So, watch. Yeah. Sometimes he's good at the tail, sometimes he's not, but usually he's good. So yeah, so we're streaming live for one form of content, and then we're all recording audio and video. Actually, let's just start and we'll talk about this because you're a podcast, so you wanted to talk about
What's
this
your at?
anyways.
What was that?
What's your act?
What do you mean at?
You're at
Your handle.
Your
your
handle.
handler.
Oh, it's just different minds, same grind.
All right, different minds, same grain.
Okay, should we just start recording on all these?
Yep, I'm
Okay,
going.
gonna start recording, and then hang on, I'll go get Kenzie going here. So there you go. Okay.
Good D.
Boom! And just like that starts another kickoff of the ADHD Express podcast. We do the audio spike to break your nervousness. And look at that beautiful smile. It totally worked.
It did work. That
And then
did work.
we are working on a reel of all the last 36 episodes of everybody going, oh God, that's like better than a shot of coffee.
Yeah, that'll get you.
Yeah. Well, hey, you guys, again, thank you for joining us. We've got a great show planned for you today. We've got a dear friend of mine, Makenzie Nielson, joining us, and I'll do a better introduction here in a second. As always, I've got my wonderful media production crew. We got Joe and Daniel Osmond.
Hey,
Hello.
yo.
You guys are amazing. Thanks for being here and setting all this stuff up every week. We appreciate it. And then, so you guys, we've got Makenzie is a very special guest because we work together all the time, and she's a podcaster. You guys, she's got 20 episodes, so she's almost in the top 1% of podcasters. And so, Makenzie, say hello. Introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hi. Makenzie Nelson Chu. Yeah, my friend and I.
Oh wait, that's right. You got married. What's the new maiden or the married name?
Chu.
She spell that.
CHEW.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got you. Okay,
Yeah.
very cool. Now, do you use your professional, or do you use that, or do you just stick with?
So I just barely got everything changed.
Okay.
We got married
Cool.
last September, and it's taken me a while
Got to make sure it's gonna
to
stick.
get
I'm
everything.
just kidding. Just kidding.
I
My
told
wife
him-
took a year to
I
change
told
hers
him, I was
too.
like, you know what? After all of the difficulties that I've had changing my name, I'm not rechanging it. So you're stuck with me. For
Yeah.
That's
Like,
perfect.
sorry. But yeah, just got everything changed on that. So now I will officially go by Makenzie Nelson Chu.
Okay, cool.
So
Awesome. Very cool.
Sweet.
Thank you for sharing that. I want to make sure I get it right too.
Yeah.
That's actually a big thing with me is to address my friends
no,
by their correct name.
it's awesome.
And what was your podcast? And what do you guys talk about?
Yeah, so my friend and I, we started a podcast. Her name's Lexi Wilkinson DeMille. And we started a podcast. It's called Different Minds, Same Grind. And we kind of just did it more as like a hobby, something fun to do.
Yeah.
We are both huge podcast listeners. And so we kind of just wanted something fun and entertaining and something along the lines of like women in business and young entrepreneurs and kind of just
Mhm.
having fun and the difficulties.
I love that.
We love to show like how difficult business can be, how difficult life can be, what we go through on a weekly basis, the ups and the downs, not always just showing the fun stuff that you
Mhm.
see.
You mean
on
when
social
people
media?
say, "Oh, you're so lucky, you're on your own business"?
Yeah. No, we'll show you the trials for sure, all of the mistakes we make, all of the hardships, everything like that. So we just are doing it more for fun and just wanting to be 100% real with everyone and everything.
It's awesome. See, now you guys see why I wanted to get her on, because that's kind of similar to what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
We're trying to be authentic and show people, like, mine is a little bit more on, I'm looking for people who have changed a career. because so many people are stuck, and that's who I want to help. Well, it's the people who are stuck in a career or a path or whatever, or people who kind of had taken that path like I did and maybe got in trouble. You got some felonies under your record and you're just like stuck and you feel like it's hopeless, right? So that's kind of, I guess, more my specialty is people who have kind of made that choice and had that kind of a lifestyle.
Yeah,
whereas
absolutely.
not so much the young entrepreneurs, because I'm just not young anymore.
Whatever, you're young.
Well, you know, it's
Thriving.
fun. I also forget without the big beard, I do look a lot younger because I had to do a 16 plex yesterday, and I just made a comment about it. I mean, it was hot. I had 8 attics to get into. It's like 150 degrees in each attic, and I'm just like, I'm getting kind of tired. I was like, I'm kind of old now. This is not as easy as it used to be. And the dude, he looks at me, he's like, man, he's like, you're way better shape than I am. He's like, you can't be old. And he's like, what are you, like 38? I was like, well, close, but no, 45. But yeah, it's just kind of, so it's, I don't know. Yeah, I know I don't look as old. I need to grow the beard back so I look old. I like the respect. Have we talked about that? Have I told you about that? Yeah, dude. People, if you pull up to a 4-way stop sign and you look young, everybody's going to cut you off. But if you pull up and you got a big old gray beard, they're all like, come on, sir, keep fighting the good fight. It's really funny.
That.
It is. It's totally a decoy. What's that?
The Harley.
It's kind of like the Harley, yeah, old man on a motorcycle energy. Yeah. No, that's so funny. But yeah, so that's kind of, you guys see why she's like the perfect time for us. Like we're going to be able to collaborate and stuff. In fact, some things, part of the reason you guys, Makenzie, I want to make sure she got on the show early on is because we want to share ideas.
Yeah.
You know, I want her to see stuff that we're doing and be like, oh, I can improve here. And I want her to say, hey, you know what I did in that circumstance that really worked for me is this. And then we can go, oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Right? That's exactly how this is going to work. Because that's what's cool about all these type of little businesses and these side things with the internet type stuff or the social media is there's no competition. It's all just collaboration.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know?
Is the business ran off of the podcast, or do you do something else with it, or talking about business and owning business?
So I sell real estate, and that's how we see each other.
The home inspector, right?
Weekly, all the time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we got started with it. Is she does her own thing. She works a full-time job. I work. You know, she's got multiple investments. They've bought multiple homes from me. And so it's kind of just been one of those things where throughout everything that we've done, we're like, why don't we just bring this to the table and let everyone hear what we do? And we always have people that will reach out on social media, especially to Lexi, where she's done so much investing, and be like, how did you do that? And what can I do? And how can I be able to get there? And so I think a lot of people think that when you see things on social media, it's way harder to get than not.
Well, and it is. I always like to do point out, you guys, it's not easy.
Oh, it's not.
Like,
easy.
so it's not.
Sure.
It's not impossible, but it's not easy. Like it does take work, and that's
for sure.
I mean, I've done the same thing. In fact, there's another guy we keep in Tate. I got to get Tate on the show, and we got to get on his. He's got a podcast. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just forgot the name of it. I'll think of it. I'll say it here in a second. But he it's all about multifamily investing and kind of how to get into it and stuff. And so we've talked about it, and it just when he invited me on the show, I didn't have all this set up yet. Right. And I was like, hey man, I'm kind of in the middle of doing this stuff, so let me get it set up, and then I'm happy to come on your show. But he's got over 1 million followers. Like this dude's been killing it.
That's crazy.
And so, but people love that. They need that. They need to hear this stuff. They're like, people are like, oh, how do you get a 46 plex? And you're like, well, started with a crappy $50,000 meth house.
Yep, exactly.
That I flipped, and I was there till 2:00 in the morning every night doing it myself.
Yep, the remodels, everything.
Yeah, it starts like that, and eventually, like now, I don't do it myself. Now I just have a crew that does it all for me. So it's a little different, and then you look at that, but you're also that's what probably 10 years of flipping and investing, going from single family to duplexes to 12 plexes to 24 plexes to 36, then to 46. I mean, this is like a massive scaling enterprise.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
Nothing in life that is worth it, though, is ever easy. That's the most important thing I think everyone forgets. I mean, probably from where you started to where you are now, there's been a billion changes and a billion things that were way harder than you ever thought they would be.
Absolutely. Yep, I couldn't agree with you more.
For sure. Hey, I'm looking up Tate's podcast. I feel really bad that I forgot the name of it, and I feel like I really need to mention it. I know. Well, it's a cool show. I watch it all the time, and I think that you would honestly really like it because I mean, it's right up our alley.
That would be so awesome.
So
what kind of stuff? How do you guys find stuff to talk about in your podcast?
We try to have a lot of guest speakers on, and then we also have an Instagram. So we're able to just kind of throw ideas out there, and then we'll do like a poll and see what people want to hear the most and everything like that.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Have you had any awesome questions that you just absolutely? You don't have to say yes.
No, I was gonna say we've had awesome feedback, and people be like, we want to hear more about this. Right now we're on a season break, so we had our first season and we had a whole bunch of guest speakers on there, and then right now we're gearing up for guest speakers for our second season.
Oh,
And
okay.
so we're just trying to make it even better than the first one.
That's the way to be.
So-
Always improving, right?
Yeah, it's a
Constantly.
blast.
So his, by the way, so it is the Apartment Gurus podcast with Tate Seamer. So for those of you guys who haven't checked that out, check that out right now. Tate, you're the man. He's awesome. We actually go way back. He knew me back in my spice dealing days.
Which, can I just say, I
Were you one of the people who worked with me for years and had no idea?
had no clue. When
Yeah.
you told me at our inspection a few weeks ago, I was like, I remember like you briefly talking about it here and there, but I didn't
Yeah, really.
hear the full
yeah.
pull down until you had told me, and I was like, there's no way. Like, I would have never have.
Yeah. So people don't realize, like, yeah, so in my professional world, like as the home inspector, like I'm all business, I'm all
Business.
in, I'm 100%
Yes.
committed, and I'm like vegan. That's why everybody works with me. It's
Yeah.
just like, no, it's perfect, you know? And so I usually just don't share that
Wait,
stuff.
did you say vegan?
No, what did I say? I did not say vegan.
You didn't say vegan. I just thought you said vegan, and my brain just went all the way over there. My bad. ADHD.
Yeah, no, definitely. I had sausage and bacon and eggs for breakfast. Definitely not a vegan. In fact, I think I have that for breakfast every single day. And that's not a joke. I really, really do. We can talk about nutrition and diet later. But
Yes.
everybody's like, you're lucky you're skinny. At 45, it's not luck. This is very intentional. Well, it is. Like if you watch, I mean, I'm up at 5:30 every day doing my exercises every day, 7 days a week. So I don't take a day off.
No.
So it's, you know, and actually part of that, just for what everybody, so I have learned that from all the old people that I've done home inspections for. Because there's kind of like there's like the two kinds of old, well, three kinds of old folks. You got the old folks who have some seriously gnarly stuff going on, and there's nothing they can do.
Right.
Then there's the old folks who don't really have anything going on, but they just, a lot of these people just retire and just sit down and never get up again, and they create their own problems. And then there's these old people who are like, no, don't ever sit down, don't let the old man in, keep going, don't ever stop. And like those are the people who I'm meeting, 80-year-olds who are buying houses that are 3 levels, and they garden and run their tiller, and like they move like we do.
Yeah.
Right.
Like they're not. And so I mean, I've just like, as I've seen those people and I've talked to them, because I'm fascinated, and that's a cool thing about the real estate world, is you meet so many different people, and you kind of get, it's intimate. I mean, this is the biggest investment in their life. So we are intimately speaking with these people and communicating,
Right.
and they'll share their stories with you. And that's how you know, you're like, dude, I want to be like that. I want to be in my 70s and still squatting on the ground, playing with my grandkids. I want to be in my garden, in my hot rod, doing stuff, not just, I barely move, you know, waddle around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, my dad did that. He retired and then just sat on his ass, and the highlight of his world was where he was going to go out to eat next. That was it. And I'm like, again, if that's cool, like that's your thing, like that's fine, I guess, but
I don't know. I couldn't do that.
I couldn't
feel
either.
like I just would start pacing. Just walking around the room going around. I can't sit down for too long. I just start dancing too much.
yeah, it's valid. You're like 3 of the most ADD dudes on earth. I think DJ's got it the most under control. But if we start wigging out, he can't control it. If you throw another ADHD person right here, he's screwed. His
We all
superpower
know.
fails.
Yeah.
Yeah. So episode, is it 11 or 12 with Paul? I think it's 12.
12, I think.
So episode 12 is going to be awesome. He is as bad, if not worse, than all of us. And like, we had so much fun making that podcast, but it was the
so
most
fun.
unproductive thing. We tried to do the online ADHD, like, do you have ADHD test? It was like 16
Just
questions.
16 questions.
How many did we get through? 7? 8?
We got through all of them, but
Oh,
it took us an hour and a half.
I think it was 8. We were at 55 minutes with 8.
Yeah, it was awful.
That is so funny.
Yeah, but it's good times. So that's kind of, you know, a little bit of a
It
struggle.
felt like a little bit of a personal attack, though. Have you ever read those questions?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it did feel like a personal attack. It was pretty. As soon as the very first question, I was like, "Wait, never mind. I don't think I want to do this anymore." It was one of those, yeah. So you haven't really struggled with that. You're kind of like on top of stuff, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
If anything, I am way too I'm way too OCD.
Yeah,
Way.
just on top of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of shows, right? Your real estate career started super young, but you were just kind of successful.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of folks kind of struggle.
Yeah.
Dude, have you noticed that? Like, there is a personality.
For sure.
And I always feel bad when I meet somebody who's like, oh, I just got my license. And you're like talking to them for 5 minutes and you're like, I don't know how to tell you this. Like, you're not going to make it.
It takes
That's
a
not
lot
you.
of hard work and
Yeah.
a lot of patience and a lot of
And
time,
there's a
effort.
personality that has to be there.
Yeah.
Like, it just has to be there.
Yep. I was going to say, I was pretty, I wouldn't say super shy, but this job definitely brings you out and you've got to mingle more.
Yeah.
You gotta shoot the shit, right?
Yeah.
Well, it is. And it's just like we talk about being authentic and kind of talk about some of the hardships that we've had to face to get where we're at, right? Like,
Right.
that's kind of, I think, what is really important about talking about the business stuff is like, I don't think everybody realizes, you just see the business owner on their good days.
For
You
sure.
notice them when they're manic and they're like, yeah, everything's awesome.
Yep.
Right? Like, they don't see them and the hours when it's not like that.
I was going to say, I actually had somebody reach out to me because if you follow me on Instagram, I'm always posting like under contract, just sold, pending,
Yep.
new listing. And I had a lot of people be like, okay, so what goes into your just sold? Like, can you tell us, like in your description, instead of saying just sold, like, why don't you tell us what happened in that transaction?
Yeah.
And I loved that feedback because I was like, it's so true. People
Yeah.
don't see, like, hey, you know, we had the appraisal fail, we had the inspection go wrong, like, we had to ask for this and this and this. Like, a lot of people don't see that. They just see
Right.
the, hey, just listed and hey, just sold.
Right.
And so that's been super fun that I've been trying to really do is
I
go
like
back
that too. That's really cool.
and be like, hey, you know, we got it under contract for this. We negotiated this. We got these repairs taken care of. It closed in 8 days, or, you know, funded and recorded in 45. Or, hey, we have one right now that has taken how many months since we got them under
Wellsville.
contract?
Yeah.
I mean,
the Rick's house. Dang.
We've been under contract for probably 3 months now.
Yeah, because we inspected it, what, a month and a half ago?
Mhm.
A month ago at least? That's right. I kind of
And we
forgot
won't
about
be
that.
closing until the end of July.
Yeah, they're not all rainbows. And
They're not.
she's time, effort, energy,
Mhm.
money, like all that kind of stuff. And it's just
Yeah.
kind of like, gotta hang, dude.
And so that's going to be one where it's like when you say just sold, like it's not just a just sold. There's so many things
Yeah.
that went into it that other people can't see. And so I'm kind of, that's one thing that I'm looking forward to is kind of bringing that
That is really cool.
out to the
I love
table
it.
and
Yeah.
showing a little bit more than just the just sold.
Yeah. And isn't it funny, you guys? Because I've had a couple different realtors on here, and like, is their story is so different.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's so crazy. Like, it's not a ton of people, but a
Right.
couple, you
Yeah.
know, and like just the different stories, man. It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's so amazing. But you came into this because you're pretty young. I don't want to ask your age online. It's not appropriate. But like,
No, for
you
sure.
didn't have another career, right?
No, so
You did like jobs and then basically got into real estate.
Yeah, so I was so I graduated when I was 17, took off for a little bit, went up to Wyoming, was just working up there, came back home, was working at Logan High School as a
Okay.
paraeducator, was going to school up at USU, getting my teaching degree, and then also I loved the criminal justice side of
Oh,
things.
cool.
So I was also going into that. And then Travis, my dad's best friend, he reached out to me and he's like, hey, I need somebody to just come in and make my calls, do my paperwork. I know you don't do school during the summer, so can you come in and do
Right.
that? I was like, heck yeah, always more money.
Yep.
So
Cool.
super young, I think I was like 18
Yeah.
when I was doing
Probably.
that.
That sounds about right.
And started working for him, realized that I absolutely loved real estate, tried working 2 jobs, going to school full time for a year, and it just didn't work. And so I
Yeah.
kind of had to weigh my pros and cons and be like, what do I really want? What do I really want to go into? Realized that it was real estate, dropped out of school,
Yeah.
dropped out of USU, and then just went real estate
Yeah.
full time, full hard. So
Yep.
it's been a blast. I've been doing it. It's actually 5 years in July that I've been doing real estate, and so it's been way rewarding. I'm
That's
super
cool.
grateful to have it.
Yeah, that's really cool. And
Yeah.
5 years seems to be like that cutoff. It seems like once if people can make it 5 years, then it kind of just seems like they're kind of vested. I don't like to use that term, but they seem like they do business from then on.
That's kind of what I was always told is if you can make it past the 5-year mark, you're like you can
You'll
make
be a
it through
realtor,
anything.
Right.
And so it's been one of those things where it's like, oh, I didn't even realize 5 years was here until
Well, you also came in 5 years that were just hopping like crazy.
Yeah.
crazy. Everyone's still been like, you have yet to experience what a real market looks like. And I'm like, well,
I've been around.
I'm
I've
here
been
for
around
everything.
Since 09, and I'm sorry. There has been. It's just every year. It's just weird.
different.
So like I don't know that there is a real normal
Right.
market anymore. The world's changed too much. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Oh, do you need water or anything?
Oh, thank you so much.
So we're all sitting here. It's like, yeah, I'll probably need water.
Thank you.
I got one. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been different. I feel like every year there comes different trials and more things that we have to jump through, and it's
Yeah.
not.
How has this year been for you?
This year's been a little bit slower than it has the past few years, but it's also been a learning experience for sure. I've had way more deals that have taken a longer amount of time or have just been more difficult. You've got to work harder for it. It's not when I first started. I mean,
It was just make deals.
Yeah.
It really was. You could say that. It's fine.
Yeah.
Everybody around here
you
knows.
could really just sell anything, and now it's like. I mean, I shouldn't say that because you did have multiple offers, and it was
some of that stuff was
you were-
waiving inspection fees.
Yeah,
And
you were battling different things, and now in this market, it's kind of just like, hang on, because you don't know how long you're going to be waiting for with rates and everything like that. So it's a different market, but it's also way more learning, which I love. I don't like transactions to be. I mean, I love transactions to be easy and simple, but where's the fun in that? Like, I like to be able to figure out things that you don't run into every day, and not every transaction's the same, which keeps you on your toes 24/7.
Stagnation is true chaos in my mind. I can't sit still, can't think.
Yeah.
Can't think still.
Well, no, and it's funny you hear that. That's honestly part of why this exists.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, and you don't think of it like I've done so many home inspections that like it kind of anymore really it's hard to find something new. And that encompasses a raccoon attacking you in an attic or a badger in a crawl space. Like that shit has all happened to me, and so like I'm kind of just like anymore. I don't even get freaked out anymore.
Right.
People are like big old swarm of wasps, and I'm just I get those suckers right. I don't even care. I'm like just no. It's just been too long.
That's so awesome.
Kind of, but also kind of like ugh.
Right. Yeah.
Like that crawl space at the house we were just talking about. It's so grody, and they're like, "You're just gonna go in there?" Like, well. Yeah, they're like, you have shorts on. You're like, yeah, I know.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have coveralls. It's so much time, effort to put them on that I'm just like, I just don't.
Yeah.
I know, right? Yeah. So funny. So get this. You haven't heard this one, so this is awesome. Because you know I do like some national due diligence consulting, right, on big multifamilies.
Yeah.
So I have an investor guy who's zipping in his private plane to pick me up on Tuesday at 5 a.m. Fly me up to Montana to look at a 50-plex.
You were telling me about this.
And then flying me home in his private plane.
That is so awesome.
So yeah, that's next week. So I'm gonna make a cool video. I'm gonna take you guys all along with me.
That
You guys can go
is
check
so
it out.
Fun. So
It just
fun.
kind of it's exciting. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like that's fun. That's a different day. That's not your average day.
No, definitely not.
So that one's kind of exciting. And like I said, I got to go do a cool 16-plex yesterday for a guy. He's a chocolatier in Belgium. And is buying all sorts of multifamily stuff here, and has decided he really likes how I do my reports. And so I've done all these multifamily. Every time he buys a new one, I get to go spend a day or two inspecting on one.
So awesome.
Yeah, pretty cool actually.
Chocolate tour.
Yeah, he owns like these chocolate businesses. Yeah, for real. Yeah, like it's Belgium chocolate. Yeah, I mean I know his name. I don't know his business or anything like that. I'm just the
I was
inspector.
gonna say
But like,
chocolate factory, Willy Wonka.
I don't know. Honestly,
Yeah, the
he might be
Belgian
interested.
one.
We need to get the so we can do the virtual podcasts, so we can start having these people that I interact with. Because most of them
That
are
would
cool
be
to be like, yeah, dude, I'll come on. It's just we got to be able to get the virtual thing working right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
That would
I
be
probably will
blast.
because he's just a neat guy. You know, loves my biz, loves what I do. So I'm, he just always hires me.
That's so fun.
So in fact, his reports we always call it like the chocolate house or the cocoa house or that's what I title his reports as for him. Well, that's what they,
Next
That
time,
guy.
can you please do Charlie the Chocolate Factory? Is that the
Factory
name?
town. I totally can. Yes, I can. That's really funny.
Willy Wonka.
I'm just gonna call it the Wonka house. I'm just gonna call it the
Wonka
Wonka house. I love that's actually, and I bet you he'll appreciate that.
That's hilarious.
So.
Do you guys know about the first Willy Wonka guy? Like the reason why he
You mean
came
Gene
out the way
Wilder?
that he did?
Or no?
Yeah, Jodie Foster.
No,
Oh,
Gene
no,
Wilder.
Jane Wilder.
Gene. G-E-N.
I messed it up 3 times. I'm sorry. Sorry, internet. I know he's a beloved sweetheart. But
Love it, sweetheart.
you know when he rolls out at the very beginning,
Yeah.
and he comes out with a cane, and then it sticks in the ground. Did you know that wasn't originally part of the script.
No, did he screw up and he just rolled with it?
No, actually, it's even crazier. He told the director that he would not do the film unless, when he first came out, he came out with a limp and then proceeded to roll and jump in front of the children. Because then everyone would know, and nobody would know when he was being honest or dishonest throughout the entire film.
Interesting.
I had no clue about that till I learned it recently. I was like, dang, he's thinking like 4 blocks ahead.
He is like thinking like 4 blocks ahead. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it's kind of the same principle as our audio spike. Get everybody out. Wait, what's going on here? Did you ever work with Lance Williams? Did you know Lance?
Yeah, when he was doing mortgages.
Yeah.
I think
So-
I did 1 or 2 deals with him.
Yeah. So we had him on here because he's an artist and he's doing some cool stuff. And like, his response was the bet. When Joe did that, he just goes, his eyes just got like really big. But other than that, he didn't react at all. It was really funny. I was
That's
proofing
awesome.
podcasts and I saw, but I was
Got to
proofing all
see
these
all of them.
podcasts to send to the editors. Remember we told you how to an editor and
Yeah.
stuff now. And even that, it's like, it's working out really good. One of the ones they just did is absolutely fabulous. They put together like a hook and a reel and all that kind of stuff and an intro. And it's, well, I mean, I did the intro, but he made it work.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So
just so crazy. But what we did is we bought the DaVinci Pro, and then we got one of those speed editing dashboards.
Oh,
And so we actually have my 16-year-old daughter. We are training how to do editing.
that's
So
so
weird
awesome.
because it's, you know, that thing like you're always trying to. We're all trying to come up with a business idea, right?
Right.
And the biggest thing is solve a need.
Right.
Well, I have called so many people trying to find editing, and that is a need.
Mhm.
That is a need.
Yeah.
Podcast editing, multicams, all this kind of stuff. Nobody wants to do it.
No.
And so it's just like, I'm like, Haley, like this is, I mean, she's 16 years old. I'm starting her at 15.
Right.
But like, I guarantee you by probably the end of the summer, she'll probably be up to 20 or 25 if she's really puts her time into it.
That's so awesome.
And that's still like, that's cheap for all of us who need that service.
For sure.
But for a 16-year-old kid, like that's killer money.
For sure.
And so that's kind of what our goal is getting her editing. And like I said, I honestly hope that you'll be able to submit and she'll be able to edit
That would be
yours. And
freaking
like
awesome.
my other buddy, so did you ever know Brent Harding?
I don't think so.
So Brent is a local firefighter. He owns that Rescue One Studios and Screen 33 up in North Logan. It's an event space with a 33-foot
I have seen
screen.
it. I have seen it.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So he also has a podcast. His is not for the public. It's just he wants it just for firefighters, like mental health, that kind of thing. But his is the same thing because it's funny. We were all talking about it, right? He's like, yeah. He's like, we got about 22 filmed and we got about 5 released. He's like, yeah, editing is it's what gets you on all of them.
Yeah, it is.
And so that's why I'm like, okay, this is like a real need.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and if we can get Haley good at this, like, to be honest, like, dude,
There's so much work out there.
there is so much work out there for her.
Yeah.
And so I'm super stoked about it. So that's why we've got all the stuff. It's all sitting inside. We're just kind of ready to hook it up. In fact, that's probably after this, the mad genius here is going to have to go inside there and work his magic.
That would be so awesome. That would
So
be so awesome.
yeah, so we're super excited about it. And I was actually really excited to tell you about that because I know
Yeah.
you just seems like you just kind of lost your editor, I think.
Yeah, we've been kind of trying to find ones that it's kind of hard because when we send them one, we want to give them as much time as possible, but it's also like they have another life that they have to live
Right,
too.
right.
But it's also like, we're kind of hiring you for you to do a job, so it's kind of hard to try and balance out
Yeah.
everybody's.
Well, so we found an
Time
actual
and-
video production company out of Canada. I think I told you that.
Yeah, you did.
And he's offering us a pretty decent rate, but still, that last podcast wasn't it 9 hours?
Yeah.
9 hours of editing time.
Crazy.
It's so crazy, right? So
That's
like there's
crazy.
just no way to get around that.
Right.
Like it just kind of is what it is.
Right.
And so, you know, and I'm really happy, but it's expensive. And then we found another guy at growyourshow.com, I think was Adam Adams, right? It was growyourshow.com, and he's for a videoed podcast, he's $315 to edit you every episode. But he also gives you your hour long, your long format, and then he also clips that thing up and gives you 15 or 20 reels out of it that you can use to market.
That's awesome.
And I think that 315 actually has him scheduling the launch of all those reels.
Oh, nice.
But we've all found out that there's just apps that they're doing that with, right? So they do the editing, and they're just running the long format through Opus Clip,
Yep.
and then it kicks you out your reels. And then there's another app that you're finding out that you could just schedule it all on, so then it starts launching it to all your social media
Well,
platforms.
it's built
That's
into
way
Opus
nice.
Clip now.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's kind of
schedule
so that's kind of where we're at now. Is now that we've kind of getting our podcast done. Well, we should be able to do 10 posts a day
Right.
across all 5 platforms.
That'll be so
And
sweet.
so that's kind of like our next probably month is we'll have that figured out and scheduled and launched, and then then it's just a matter of growing.
That would be
Yeah.
so
But
sweet.
yeah, so
It's
Is there
so
a
crazy to
surprise?
see it all come.
So, and you guys, this is kind of fun. So we're talking about this because, as I told you guys, this is kind of like a vlog of how you're starting these businesses. Like you
Yeah.
are seeing us figuring this out real time.
Yep.
You know, like some of it we've had because again, full-time jobs. We've got other things. You know, we probably could have done this in 2.5 months if we could focus on it full time.
For sure.
Yeah.
But you just some of that you just can't. We all have all this other stuff going on. These guys are trying to build their media business where they're doing videos for other companies.
Right.
And so it's just kind of, I mean, just even storing all your data, like, I mean, all those things. We've got drives everywhere that are all full and maxed out, and you're like, dude, like, because you got to have backups and redundancies, and we're still finding stuff trashed and failed.
Yep.
Like, you go through and you're like, oh, I got the first 15 minutes of this podcast, and then it's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone. Can't recover it.
Turn off.
I just found that on Aaron Hill's. Yeah, Aaron, if you're watching this, yep, we got to redo yours. My site's gone. We got him and you.
Yeah, there's a lot of puzzle
Dude,
pieces that go into it.
it's
for sure.
it's given me a real respect for all the folks out there who are creating social media and creating videos and stuff like that. Like it is, everybody's like, oh, you just take a video. Nope, it's not how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not how it is.
There's so many things that go into it.
For sure.
Yeah, like we went on this St. George adventure tour thing, and we have 600 gigabytes of video.
Yeah.
Dude, like,
That is
how do you?
insane.
And then we've got a guy, Brent. I don't think he's probably not watching. He's planning his world trip, but like, he's like, hey, you guys, let me get that video. And this is like, how in the hell do you transfer 600 gigabytes of data?
Yeah.
I'll tell you. So here, for those of you who are at home going like, I want to do this too. I want to. You have your person go onto Amazon and buy you a terabyte hard drive and just ship it to you.
There you
and
go.
then you load all the data on it and then mail them their hard drive.
There you go.
That's how you do that.
Yeah. That's the
That's
easiest way.
awesome.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day, that is the easiest way.
What was the
That's
biggest
awesome.
surprise for you in creating content and generating it?
Oh boy. I think for us it was more just coming up with, like, you think of all these great things and then when you're putting it together,
It's hard.
I'm not going to speak for Lexi, but I'll speak for myself. I'm a very nitpicky person.
Mhm.
So actually, running it back, we filmed 6 episodes. I think it was 6 or 8 episodes. And we just did it at her house. And we filmed 6 episodes that we thought were killer from like a whole just weekend span of just doing stuff. And we get them over to the editor and we look back and we're like, we hate those. Like
Yeah.
crap, we sound like crap, like we don't even know what we're talking about. Like we were literally just running in circles.
Mhm.
We were just trying so hard to get the podcast somewhere that we
Sure.
were like, that absolutely sucked. And so we trashed all 6 episodes and we restarted because we're just like, we don't just want to throw stuff out there that's like we don't
Sure.
even remember what we were talking about in the conversation. So it's kind of been fun to, but I would say it's also something that's difficult too, is coming up with things to talk about, keeping the conversations going, and then looking back at it and not nitpicking every little thing, because that's something I have such a hard time with.
Yeah.
Is I'll look back at my video and
Yeah.
I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Why did I say that? I say the word like about a million times and I don't know to say it until I go back and I re-listen,
Mhm.
and then it's like
There's a couple of
like.
speech programs I can probably introduce you to that teach you how to not do that.
Please,
So-
because I swear
They call-
I don't even realize it until I'm re-listening and I'm like, man, people should hate me.
So here's another really funny one for everybody who's listening. So my parents were, and Mom, I love you. I know you're going to see this too, and I love you dearly. But so my parents had a few years when they were very confused as far as to which religion we were. And so they kind of experimented with a lot. And at some point in time, we were with the Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, I personally now am against pretty much any form of organized religion. I'm just not into, because you could just see the touch of men all over them, and they've just perverted and ruined something that was beautiful and pure. I digress. That's not neither here nor there. But say what you will about the Jehovah's Witnesses, but one of the things that they require is they have what they call their theocratic ministry school, right? So once a week you go before there, and like, so depending on your age and your experience level, they give you like a 5-minute talk. Okay, you get Psalms chapter 56 verses here to here, and you're gonna research all of that. Who is it talking about? What was going on? And then you're gonna give a 5-minute talk in front of the congregation. And then they're going to have 3 or 4 elders sit up there and they're going to critique you.
On how you did.
But on how you did. But basically, they're teaching you how to speak in front of people.
Right.
So I personally thought that stuff was wicked cool. And I actually got, when I was like 14, I actually got to give a talk at the D Event Center, which is the sports arena down in Ogden for the Weber State University. I got to give a talk in front of 5,000 Jehovah's Witnesses when I was 14 years old. I got to do that theocratic ministry school there. And so it's like that was, and they call those word whiskers, right? And they keep telling, and the thing that you learn is so many people, we all get nervous speaking. That's just,
Totally.
it just kind of is, right? The people who do it really, really well are usually the most nervous and have put the most time into overcoming it, right? And one of the things that you learn is that instead of throwing in a word whisker like, right? Don't do that. Just pause.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
you just don't say anything, and that actually is a win. And it's like, it's so hard to do though. And I find myself doing it now. I do it all the time really, really well. Now I'll just sit there and stop for a second and then go again. And everybody's like, oh, look at the dramatic pause. It's buffering. It's buffering. Yeah. See, we know it's buffering.
Buffering.
But people perceive it as dramatic pause.
Yeah.
That's the craziest part that I've seen too, with going through and going back and watching everything, all the likes and the ums, or because I feel you on the nitpicky. I am a nitpicky person. He has to deal with it all the time.
Yeah.
But as I'm going through and I'm looking at all the things, and I realize like that also just kind of makes it feel more real sometimes.
That's totally true. I totally agree with that. I agree.
Yeah, it's one of the best parts about a podcast that I've learned, because before I thought,
Authentic.
yeah, it's authentic.
Well, not scripted too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if I was scripting what I would say, there would not be 50,000 likes being thrown at you and ums and
Right.
so yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
The other part is I learned something about pauses that were crazy to me. I learned it a few years back, but it was like people, when you pause, don't think that you're stupid.
No.
Never.
No, that's what I was, yeah.
Always 100% of the time, they actually are more grateful because you paused, because it meant that you were trying to give your best form of communicating how that went.
Yeah, I can see that.
So now when you hear yourself doing that, just pause for a second. And again, we all know you're buffering. Nobody else does.
That's awesome.
It's funny how we adapt a lot of these things. Like when you're trying to deal with people and you're like, that guy is just so irritating. It's because you're an NPC in his world. And once you start thinking about that, then you're like, oh yeah, he didn't cut me off because he's a jerk. He cut me off because I'm an NPC. Could care less.
Just like in GTA.
Yep. So like it's kind of when you start applying that principle to life, it's kind of a little bit easier.
For sure.
So
For sure.
kind of fun stuff.
What's your favorite part so far about the podcast?
I love all the guest speakers. I
Obviously,
love how everybody comes in with a different opinion, and that's kind of why we named it Different Mind, Same Grind, because I feel like at the end of the day, everyone we have on there, we're all aimed towards success. Like we all want success at the end of the day, but we all have different minds of how we're going to get there and different plans. And so I think just having people come on and even different perspectives for me to see that I wouldn't normally see had I not heard people come on and tell their story or give a talk or anything like that. So that's probably been my favorite part, is listening to and seeing also people thrive. Like girls that I went to high school with, guys that I went to high school with, and we've had them on just to see how much people have wanted success and then went out and got it has just been incredible.
And it's phenomenal every time, right?
Yep. And it's just one of those things that you look back and you're like, well, yeah, like we're all rooting for each other, but you don't see that. Like you don't see that side of it. You see the social media and the competitiveness of it that you're like, oh, why can't I do that? Or why can't I be where they're at? Or why am I not making as much money as they are? But it's like,
you have to go out and get, well, and part of it, again, we talk about that is you have to engineer your life for that. Like there's a lot of forethought and effort to go into doing. Those people are not just living. They're not just going to work and then coming home and watching Survivor. Right? Like that's, I in that apartment, somebody, they were like, oh, do you watch Survivor? And I was like, no, what's that? And then they kind of told me about it. I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. Like, yeah, you should watch it. And it's like, well, I don't really have time for TV, man. Like,
I was going to say, me and my husband, we have people tell us all the time, like, have you guys watched this movie? Have you guys watched this television show? And it's like, we've watched a few, but I can probably count on both of my hands how many times my husband and I over the past 4 years have sat down and watched a movie
Yeah.
and like successfully finished the movie without being interrupted by business calls or my husband has ADHD, and so it's like, well, let's just go do this right now. Like
So you know, it's
the few
actually
movies
funny.
we can get through is
So I can actually help solve that for everybody who has ADHD and a whole bunch of processor speed that they can't deal with. So that's ADHD is kind of like a processor, right? I have too much input coming in, and so it's just hard to regulate.
Too many open tabs.
Yeah, too many open tabs on the system. And so I have learned that the best way to watch a movie is to play a video game on your phone and read a book while you watch the movie. And dude, you could come out of that thing in great shape. It drives my wife nuts because I'll be like, and then she's like, you're not even paying attention. I'm like, whatever, Billy just said, whatever. And like, she's like, how could you possibly know that? She's like, you haven't looked up. And I'm like, I'm using my peripherals, honey.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And she's learned after 25 years that I'm not just saying that.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
I learned that when I was really, really young. My teachers could not deal with me because I had
Yeah.
the
Right, deemed as
dancing
bad
moves.
kids their whole lives, man. Growing up, these ADHD kids, like everybody's like, these kids are horrible. We're not.
Right.
We're
They
just smarter than
finally
you.
fixed me. They finally tried to medicate me and then fix me, and then it just went terribly. In fact, there's now a warning label on a prescription because of me. Thank you. But the way that they actually fixed it was when I wasn't having to listen to the teacher, they gave me headphones and a little not Walkman, but the disc
Yeah.
thing where you played it. And then they'd give me a CD of just like John Denver or like some random oldies music that I was listening to or was hooked on at the time. And then I would just sit and I'd put my headphones on and my work would be done before everybody else's because I was sitting down, listening to music and doing my work.
Right.
It's simple little things like that that help.
Yeah, you just have to distract that
Bro.
super crazy brain. Like,
For sure.
and it's hard. People are like, man, you're really hard to be around. You're like, yeah, try living with me. Like, I don't get a break. You can leave. Like,
Yeah.
we don't get to leave this. It does not shut off.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I literally, it's like, everybody's like, man, I wish I was a morning person. I'm like, dude, it sucks when you're like, oh, you wake up and you're like, I don't even want to open my eyes. I know it's like 4 a.m. Like, I don't even want to live.
Like,
I'm gonna go back to sleep. I'm gonna go back to sleep.
Yeah.
But it's just not gonna happen. I sit there and look at my wife and I watch her sleep and I'm just like, Lord, how long are you gonna sleep?
You're like, come on, we got things to do. It's 5 a.m. Let's go.
I'm on the other
Sucks.
side of that. I'm like, oh, okay, time to go to sleep. Day 3.
I know, right? Yeah. Yeah, but you gotta stop that. I used to be that way when I was younger. Would only sleep like every 2, 3, 4 days. You'd sleep for a night or so, and then
Oh, yeah.
and that does.
It takes.
I can't do that anymore.
Whole-
I can get one day. I can stay awake all night, and go 2 days. It's not even a big deal. But the third one, I'm a mess. In fact, I did that. I couldn't sleep for like 2 days. I had that big shooting competition. I went up to Parma, Idaho. I think I told you about that. I hadn't slept for 3 days. So that first day of the con, I did just terrible, and I'm sure it was because my brain just was not processing. And then I slept, and then I went and did really a lot better. So
That's awesome.
See, it was killer for me when I was in wrestling because we would have weekend things that we would go to, and we'd spend a night in a hotel, and every time I would just wind up walking the hallways of the hotel just because I was so excited for the next day. I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Even though I couldn't think of all the possible things that I wanted to do, but my brain thought that I could somehow, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
it's valid. See, that's the ADHD mind. You're married to one now. It sounds like. Right?
Yeah.
And what is his business? Because he has a business. doesn't
Yeah.
he?
Yep.
Is
So
he the dumpsters?
Yep. So he
Yeah.
owns Blue Collar Haulers. It's a roll-off dumpster company.
Yeah.
We have about 30 plus dumpsters now. And yeah, he's absolutely killing it. And he's the same way. It's like early morning grind. There's a million things on his mind that he's got going that he can do. And I mean, we have 4 different businesses because there's just always something that he's thinking of
Right.
doing. So we just go ahead and do it.
We might have to have him on here too then.
It's the way to
I guess.
Yeah, he would.
I mean,
yeah,
that's how we
it's
always
so
are.
fun.
Like, I always forget. It gets to be a point when it's almost embarrassing sometimes because you're talking to people and they're like, "Oh, so how's this going?" You're like, "What? That was like a year ago, dude. That's done and gone." Like, there's like
Like we're past
5
that.
other business. Yeah, we're way past that.
Yeah.
I feel like most people in business have like a little ADHD.
Yeah, I
though.
kind of
Like,
have to.
I think, yeah, definitely.
Right.
At least enough to keep
Now
up with
you had
everything.
some trying childhood stuff that you kind of had to get your shit together really young, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that I
Yeah.
think also is another thing.
Yeah, my parents got divorced when I was about 16, and my dad's freaking awesome. And so he became like the main parent
Okay.
and worked so hard for us kids. And then I kind of,
Because you're the oldest of.
yeah,
three?
I'm the oldest of, yeah, I've got 2 brothers.
Yeah. Okay.
So then I just kind of was like, all right, it's, we got to grow up and get some stuff done.
Mhm.
And so then I mean, because of all of that, I've got an awesome relationship with both my brothers that
That's right.
we'll forever have. So it's kind of one of those things that sucks, but then you look back and it's like, well, I've been able to do this and this and this because of those hardships.
Sure.
And because of, I mean, I don't know if you've listened to our podcast
A couple. I haven't
that we
listened to
did
that one.
for our why,
Oh, okay.
like what our whys are and just kind of like
Yeah.
who we are.
Mhm.
And so I kind of went into more detail on that one as to like those hardships made me who I am today and my
Right.
purpose and my why. And it all relates back to, one another. And so it's been fun.
Yeah.
It's amazing. The things that take us down are the ones that make it so that we can understand how to stand and stay back
For
up.
sure.
It really is. I mean, there's 1,000 analogies, right? Diamonds, heat, and pressure from coal, all that kind of thing. But like, yeah, without, and that's one thing it seems like is everybody who is like really made something with themselves, they usually have some sort of a trying backstory.
Yep, I agree.
Like it just happens. Like you hear it, and like I guess when you talk about that, the reason that's relevant to talk about is for all the people who are in that horrible time right now.
Right.
Like this
There are
is
better
your
things coming.
right. Like this is if you can just survive and try to survive well, try to find a way to learn and come through your hard opportunity, dude, you're going to be miles ahead afterwards.
I used to always look back, like I used to in that time be like, oh, why me? Like, why am I going through this? I didn't understand it.
Mhm.
And now looking back, I'm like, well, this is exactly why I had to learn that the hard way. And then it's like, well, I'm not going to do that in the future, and I'm not going to, that's all changed now. So, yeah.
One of my favorite stories, it's Jordan Peterson in one of his books. He writes about this woman, and he was her therapist, obviously, and they were sitting and they were talking, and then this woman just described the hardest possible life that Jordan could imagine. Like, one thing after another, everything is against her, like everything is tearing her down in her everything.
Mhm.
And at the very end of it, Jordan he asks her a question, and then she says, well, I just hope that it's my fault. And Jordan was completely taken back by it. And he's like, what do you mean by that? Well, like, if it's my fault, then I can change something about it and fix it. But if it's not my fault, I can't do anything. And that is...
Wow.
I've never even thought about that perspective of it. That's crazy.
It took me aback when I first heard it, because I see it to be so validly true, because there's a million things that we can blame on a million things, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, you can't control 99% of those things. You can only control what you do and where you are and what you're doing to improve your life. And when you focus on those things, that is where growth comes from, because then you get yourself out of the situations where it's possible to be in those things.
For sure.
It's like that shift from it happens to you to it happens for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like looking at what you can learn from the experiences.
Well, and I mean, that's honestly true. Like my whole thing of getting busted and SWAT teams and helicopters and jail and all that stuff, like there's every once in a while you meet someone who's like not gonna like you. They're just like, oh, you're a piece of crap, and I'll write you off as that, and that's fine. Like those people, you don't need that person in your life anyways. That's probably not a person you want to have around. For the most part, though, like people are just like, holy crap. They're blown away by the story. They're blown away by the honesty of sharing the story. They're blown away with the story of like, yeah, then after X number of years, got the felonies dropped, like didn't ever do it, and like it's just like, whoa, it's impressive. And you don't realize that until you start talking to people.
Right.
And like, yeah, not a lot of folks are able to pull out of that
For
kind of lifestyle or having those hardships. And so that's, again, we need to be here to help those people,
Absolutely.
right? Like you're going to help people who lost a parent as a young kid. I'm going to help people who went to jail, who got felonies, who got SWAT teams. That sucks. I know. Well, talk. I'll help you get through it.
Right.
That's where the value of that's where the diamond actually does come from the rough, because the diamond is that piece of information that you have for everyone else.
I don't know if you guys followed in the news at all, the Mamos guy. Have you guys heard about that?
No.
So
I saw that they were closing.
So he got in an accident and was under the influence of something. Had some legal stuff with him. And that was maybe last year, and then just recently got another one. Like I hit a person, didn't die, but he hit the person in a crosswalk and was inebriated and stuff. And so now, and it just sucks because everybody's like smearing him. But I'm like, you guys know, since Mamos is around, every time there's a disaster, every time there's people who, like, he's feeding people, right? He's always had things online. Come here for Christmas, Thanksgiving, we'll get you food. If you're hungry, come, I'll feed your family. Like all that kind of thing. Anytime there was he was just always trying to do right. It's just like kind of we were talking about. You don't see what's going on behind the entrepreneur's mind. Sure. That dude has got demons he's carrying, right? And instead of us as a community turning on that dude who tried to help people as best he could, like we need to be like, okay, let's help this dude overcome these demons.
Right.
Like I'm going to reach out to him and try to talk to him about, hey man, like I've kind of been there. I've been all over the news. I've been smeared, and had to rebuild and regrow.
Right.
Right. That was previous to Carlson Home Inspections. And now, I mean, like everybody in our industry knows who I am.
Right.
So it's like, you can do it.
For sure.
It's just, you have to you can never screw up again. Like that sucks, dude. You have to get completely sober and you got to stay that way.
Right.
Like now, because you've had two of them, like it's your only shot.
Right.
It's the only option. You can never be messing up again.
Right.
Unless you're out in the middle of the desert. That's just how it is.
For sure.
Because all it takes is one more time and you'll never gain that trust again.
Yeah.
So like you can screw up a couple times, but gosh, is it hard to get that trust back. So yeah, that was just one that's just been on my heart and mind because I saw it on social media and I'm just like, man, I don't want that dude to hurt himself or something, because he's just like, well, crap.
Right.
It's hard. It's a hard battle to start over.
That's too bad.
So
starting from the ground is one of the hardest things that.
Yeah. But you can do it. I mean, you can do it. I've done it. I did it. Not even that long ago.
You can do it. It's you need to do it.
Yeah, you need to do it. It is. It's really, really, really. And man, the rebuild, like if you do that, it's more appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it was harder, and like people have usually acknowledged that is what I've found. So. Yeah. Anyways, craziness. Didn't mean to bring it down. That's just been bugging me on my mind, man. Like watching how people just smeared that guy. Like, yes, I get it, but then again, like how many of us are driving around? Like for example, this morning, my wife and I were on a walk with the dog. We went to go across a crosswalk, and this one lady, she stops her car, and we're halfway in the crosswalk, and dude in his Subaru just zips right by us, right in the crosswalk, and I'm just like, people are doing it all the time. We walk 3 miles every single day with my dog, and most of people do not stop for the crosswalks. So like again, yeah, we can all hate homeboy, but most of you aren't stopping anyways. You just happen to luck out and not hit someone.
Right.
Yeah. Circumstance.
Yep, circumstance, dude. It happens. Until you walk a mile in their shoes, don't judge.
Yeah.
It's craziness.
That's where it comes from. And it's crazy because everyone thinks that they can understand somebody's situation. And that's like the biggest argument that you come from between people, right?
Everyone's got advice for someone else.
What's that?
Everyone's got advice for someone else, but it's hard to really take advice.
Well, unless they've been there. Like, I feel like it's someone like, okay, you lost a leg in an accident. Well, the dude who's, lost his leg 40 years ago probably has some good advice for you.
Yeah.
But then the person who still has both of their legs, okay, like.
Come on now.
Well, it's like people who, and I don't want to say, how do I say this without being rude? It's just somebody who doesn't run a business telling you how to run your business.
Yeah.
For example, I've got a great one. As a home inspector, this happens to me every single week. There is always somebody out there who says, oh no, I'm going to come and follow you for your home inspection. Make sure you do a good job. Oh, are you an inspector? No. Oh, are you a licensed contractor? No. What do you do? Oh, I'm an accountant. So how are you going to make sure I do a good job? By distracting me. You ever have your boss follow you at work? Nobody likes that.
Well, nobody does good at their job when it's taking place. Like anytime when I was working just a job 9 to 5, and they're like, okay, so we're just gonna watch you, and
it is not
it gives me anxiety just thinking about it. No.
Don't do that. Yeah, but that's like in my line of work all the time. Or like, oh, my dad's gonna come and he's gonna follow you. Oh, is he? No, he doesn't. Yeah, like they.
I actually love when people text me and be like, "So can I go for the full amount of time?" And I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
No, you cannot.
No, you cannot.
Brian will do his job, and you can go and do the walkthrough. And
every time after thousands of home inspections and 10 plus years of doing this, it is always a conflict.
Mhm.
You know, I had the seller, these realtors, again, very unprofessional because they're the seller. I'm like, oh no, you don't have to leave. You can just hang out in your house while they're doing the home inspection, right? Well, then the person ends up talking to you, and like every 2 seconds, you're like, oh, I need to take a picture. Oh, well, let me just finish this. You're like, cool, I'll just stand here. Then you stand there until they move, then you take your picture. Or they walk, you know what I'm saying? Just like it's like nonstop. And then that same person has the audacity to call their agent and be like, well, that took longer than they said it was going to take. You're like, yeah, weird when somebody's in my way, so I can't get my job done.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting how that happens.
When you made a good point when we were talking about it last time, that like you could potentially miss things because they're trying to distract you from the things they don't want you to find.
Correct.
And that was a big thing. Is I was like, you know, even when I'm selling things, I want to show how good of an item it is or how good of a thing it is.
Yep.
And so, but I've never thought about it from that. Like, I also might be getting in the way of pointing out things that somebody could be like, well, I don't like it for that reasoning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like, if the seller is sitting there being like, well, this is great and this is great, you're like, actually, that's a problem.
Yeah. Well, and then they always want to get in my way. And like, well, and I always have to take the explanation as to why it's a piece of crap and why I never bothered to fix it. And it's just like, I don't care. I'm just here to report on what's happening.
Right.
Just let me report what's happening. Like, and then, or I get the seller who calls me and like, well, I think that's dumb that you called that out. I'm like, well, it doesn't really matter what you think. Like, it's a deficiency that doesn't bother you, but guess what? It might bother the new guy.
For sure.
Like, they're paying me to pick apart every single thing here.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's not an easy way to be because everybody, it's conflict every day. Every single day.
On one front or the other.
Yeah, it's just every day. I have this one woman, like, they gave me the wrong address, which again, my report is like, it's awesome, but it's also like, nobody really sees it. The buyer, the agent, that's it. She's been for a month, she called me once, wow, the address is wrong. I just really need it changed. Okay, like I kind of forgot. She called me again, I didn't do it. And then she called like 3 times in a row. And so finally I was like, fine, I'll change the address. But like, it's just kind of funny because like, you look at the report, you make your decision, you buy the house, and then other than that, you kind of don't ever touch your report again.
Right.
So it's just like, it's funny to me that was such a, a stressful thing for her. But you just don't know. That's the personalities.
Yep.
I've got one person who, I don't know, a bad GFI is a huge deal, which you and I know that, okay, I can get an electrician there for $150, he'll fix it.
It's kind of funny to see, like, when we're walking through properties and the clients are like freaking out, and me and you have to be like, no.
It's okay. Yeah,
it's okay. We
calm
can
down.
take care of this. It's gonna be fine. That's like $100 fix.
Yeah.
But then something that's like massive, like the roof, they're like, oh,
It's fine.
it's fine. And I'm like,
Yeah.
the roof is going to cave in on you, and you're worried about
It's the dumbest thing. Yeah, some baseboard's not matching or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, just
Yep.
some people are funny, and you just do your best to appease them. That's again different experiences. Well, I knew a guy who had this leak and it caused all this damage. Like, okay, I get that, but like that's not a normal thing.
For sure.
It's a very funny industry that we find ourselves in.
Yeah.
Going into people, well, again, when you think about it, I mean, it's huge. It's a big investment, big purchases. I don't know if we talked about it. Forbes magazine did a write-up about like their top 10 most stressful things in your life. And buying and selling a home is like number 3, tied with losing a loved one, like a child or a spouse to death.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
According to Forbes magazine, that's how stressful it is. And so like ever since I read that, I try to be like, oh, okay, this is why everybody's like freaking out and losing their minds.
For sure.
Yeah.
That totally puts a different perspective on it.
It does. It helps it kind of process a little. And so I actually try to point that out to people when they're kind of starting to freak out. I'm like, hey, I just want you to know, according to Forbes magazine, this is one of the top 3 most, out of the top 10, this is number 3, the most stressful thing you can deal with.
Yeah.
And then when you tell them that, you're kind of acknowledging that, hey, dude, like you're supposed to feel like that.
Yeah.
But it's not me. It's not the home inspector.
Yeah.
Or the realtor. So
Yeah.
that's funny. The joys of the business, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But see, then there's that conflict, that childhood conflict that you had, taught you how to deal with that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Really, really well. I like that.
Yeah. Definitely.
See that, dude? Your whole life story shapes you for what you're going to end up having to go through and deal with. I think.
Absolutely.
A whole
Literally.
lot.
Everything happens for a reason.
I love that saying. I know it's like one of those, just like it's one of those other saying that's like the live, laugh, love. Like you always hear it and you're like, oh yeah, whatever.
Whatever.
But I'm so in for that one because
You have to,
I
sometimes
totally
it's a
agree.
reach. Sometimes you have to try to look for the reason.
Mhm.
You know, like there's tragedies that happen and people are like, okay, well, what's the reason for this happening? And you're like, I don't know. Maybe that person was going to have some horrible illness and die very painfully, and for some reason they got in a motorcycle crash instead.
Right.
And it was quick instead of a year of suffering. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
again,
yeah.
that's just,
It's like that one Will Smith movie. Does anyone remember it? It's the butterfly.
Butterfly Effect.
Butterfly Effect.
That's an
I
old
haven't
movie.
seen
I
that
don't.
one.
Oh, it's so good because
Right,
one of my
butterfly
favorite
flaps his
parts
wings
is-
here, and there's a tsunami on the other side of the world.
uh,
That kind of principle, right?
yeah, but they say another thing in there that is one of my favorite. It's the collateral beauty. So like when something happens, oftentimes like over exaggerating, like a nuke, right? There's a nuke that happens, right? You just see the destruction that happens at the core, but you don't see the beauty that happens outside if you're just focused on the destruction that's there, right?
Yeah, the big flower, the cloud, the
Right.
whatever.
Like a break in a window is another good example. A break in the window, right? If you look at it as a broken window where the hole went in, you completely miss the beautiful cracks that are going across that people do in order to create stained glass, right?
Or like when you get raided by a SWAT team looking at the beautiful orchestration of all the men in their little suits, they all had to get ready and accessorize.
All for you.
All for me.
Can't miss the collateral beauty, I'm telling you.
I'm sorry.
hilarious.
That was collateral beauty, right?
Yeah, collateral beauty.
Technically.
Yeah, all those guns and no one got shot.
Yeah. Just a little hard to see it sometimes.
It's a little hard to see it sometimes. It took me 13 years.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
That's funny.
Well, you guys, that is an hour-long podcast, you guys. So that's going to probably wrap us up. I think we got to get Makenzie. She's got working to do. She's got to get out of here and go show
Yes.
houses, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why she looks like $1 million. So, well, cool, you guys. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. I did not say subscribe at the beginning, but now is a great time to like, subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to have a couple other lists. We're going to have Makenzie's podcast listed on here. We'll probably throw Tate's on here as well because we mentioned it, and then you guys can go and like and subscribe those as well and learn everything you need to know about real estate and business.
Yes.
So, Makenzie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I was so nervous, and I'm so glad that I was able
It's
to
fun, huh?
join you guys. This is a blast.
It's kind of a
This is
different
so
experience.
fun.
Yeah.
So fun.
So hopefully we inspire you, and then your podcast is just going to soar. So
No, I'm excited to see where your guys' goes as well.
cool. Thank you very much.
So, thank
Awesome.
you.
Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a good day.
Later.
Come over to this one. Just like that.
Sweet.
Pretty cool, right?